In this week's Design to Move, we're going to target the quads and the hip flexors. These muscles are responsible for flexing the hip and extending the knees. These muscles work when you pull your leg up towards your chest. Sitting for long periods of time and common movement redundancies like jogging or biking can lead these muscles to become shortened and inflexible. This in turn can contribute to weakened butt muscles, which creates pelvic instability. Today we'll show you how to lengthen these muscles and activate the muscles which stabilize the hips and knees. Let's get moving. Place your foam roller on the floor and lie on your stomach with the top of one thigh over the foam roller with your other leg on the floor for support. Keep your midsection tight while keeping your shoulders drawn down and back with your palms directly under your shoulders. Roll the front portion of your thigh from your knee to your hip bone, making sure to isolate tender spots and small kneading strokes from side to side. Tighten your abs and maintain proper low back posture during the exercise by maintaining a fixed alignment from your ribs to your pelvis. For this position, kneel onto your leg and place your foot in front of you to assume a lunge position. Slide your back foot onto a bench behind you, emphasizing the stretch at the knee. Be careful not to stretch beyond what is comfortable. There shouldn't be any pain. If there is, you're going to want to reduce the height of the bench to reduce the flexion in the knee. Now, tuck your tailbone under, flexing your braced leg's butt or glute. This will stabilize the hip. While doing that, rock your hips forward gently, breathing in, and draw the hand on the same side of the body over the head and reach across. Hold the position for several seconds, then breathe out and return to your base position. Repeat this several times. Begin by anchoring a light exercise band behind you so that it remains tight through the whole movement, about 4 inches from the ground. The feet of a couch make a great anchor point. Laying on your stomach, attach the band to your heel. Initiate the movement by first rotating the foot internally so that the toes rotate towards the midline. Keep it rotated through the entire movement. Bend the knee to the butt for a count of 2, then extend it back to its beginning position for a 4 count. Make sure to keep your hips stable through the whole movement by maintaining the engagement of your abdominals. Begin by laying on your back and lift one leg up. Try to straighten the knee if you're able to, as long as it doesn't distort the movement at the hips. The braced knee should be bent at 90 degrees with the toes centered in a neutral position. Brace the upper body by placing the arms in an L position, rotating the arms into the ground. Nod your head down and press the base of your skull into the mat gently. Initiate the movement by breathing in and then lift your hips under you with your abdominals. Continue to lift the hips by flexing your butt and pressing your hips upwards. Make sure not to press so far that you're unable to maintain the flexion in your abdominals or if you go into back extension. Press to a count of 2 and return to the bottom to a count of 4. Maintain the pressure the entire time and pause at the bottom, then repeat. Start with your feet shoulder width apart and draw your shoulders down and back, keeping the tension between your shoulder blades. Breathe in and hold your abdominal pressure as you hinge forward, dragging your non-braced leg behind you as a stabilizing element for your hips. Try your best to keep your weight centered in the middle to the back of your braced foot, keeping the majority of the movement in the hip. You'll bend down to a count of 4, pausing at the bottom, then return upright, trying to use your glute or your butt to push your hip forward fully to a neutral hip and spine position. This will be a 2 count up. Keep a slight curve in your lower spine the entire time. Since the hip flexors attach the femur, or the upper leg bone, to the pelvis and spine, this muscle becomes a major player when it comes to functional movement. When you sit for long periods of time, the muscle bunches and it sets itself into a shortened position. If left unaddressed, it can lead to the pelvis and spine being pulled down and forward, creating a strain on the lower back, at the same time creating a lack of strength in the gluteal muscles responsible for leg stability. That's why it's so important that we use lengthening techniques like the ones shown here today to bring the muscle back to its natural, functional position. Short or inflexible quad and hip flexors can also impact your core strength. These muscles pull the pelvis forward, so it lengthens the abdominal muscles, in effect turning them off. In order to adequately train and condition your core, it's important to realize the importance of lengthening the hip flexors to fully engage your spinal stabilizers, the abdominals. This movement seeks to activate the medial hamstrings. These muscles help to stabilize the knee and become weakened when the hip flexors and outer or lateral hamstrings become too dominant. In order for the hip to maintain its proper position during walking, it's critical that we know how to engage these muscles. This will provide the right signaling pattern from the leg to the hip, allowing you to absorb ground reaction forces during your gait. This movement is used to isolate the gluteals or butt muscles. As we've previously described, overused hip flexors inhibit or turn off the strength potential in your butt. Learning how to coordinate the use of these muscles in isolation while still being able to stabilize the pelvis is critical to eventually incorporating the same movement profile in day-to-day activities like walking or running. If you notice you're unable to maintain a level position in your hips while completing the movement, try to focus on engaging your deep core stabilizers. If that doesn't work, bring both legs down and focus on maintaining a symmetrical position. Once you're able to coordinate the position of the hips, progress this by returning back to a single leg stance. Learning how to position your body weight so as to maintain your center of balance more behind you can be a challenge, especially if you have tight hip flexors and quads. These pull you forward. This movement is used as an isolated opportunity for you to learn the sensory motor control of the hips and trunk. Make sure to notice whether your hips are tilting in or out on one side, or if your back is bowing or arching when you hinge forward. These are all examples of maladaptive movement patterns that we're going to want to correct. If you notice this, reduce your range of motion and really focus on the symmetry in your hips and shoulders. In no time, your strength will increase and you'll be able to get to that full range of motion.